All right, we're live. Good evening. It's Sunday night. It is just after 2000, and it is Veterans Day. Today marks the 100th year, 100 years since the end of the Great War, since the end of World War One. That's a big damn deal, guys. 100
If I
years.
may, if I may, the most senseless loss of life ever seen in Western civilization in the 20th century. What did they die for? Nothing. Well, I've ruined your show.
You're gonna have to try harder than that. So today was a special day for another reason. My baby brother just got back from downrange, so it's part of why we're starting 10 minutes late. My ass just drove in from the other side of the state. I spent the whole day on the road. Well, I spent half the day on the road. I spent a good chunk of it actually hanging out with my little brother, which was the intent. Um, so now my boy's been to war, and he's made it back. We spent a good couple of hours trading war stories and talking about old Kandahar. Um, I forgot to ask him, Mario. I forgot to ask him if the Tim Hortons is still on the Canadian compound over there. So, Mario, you'll appreciate this, and then we'll get into some topics. When a little bit of time I did spend on Kandahar, we took a few runs where we threw on our gear. We threw on full battle rifle and a rucksack and ran. It was about 2.5 miles from where we were bunked over to the Canadian compound on the same base, and they had a Tim Hortons there. So we'd run the 2.5 miles to the Tim Hortons donut shop, get coffee and donuts, eat a half a dozen donuts a piece, and run 2.5 miles back. It was magic.
When pleasure is limited, a 2 mile run for a Canadian Dunkin' Donuts, it's worth it.
Totally, absolutely. Oh, so yeah, my baby brother's home. That's a good thing. I think we're going to spend a lot more time talking about wildfires than we are, or I'm sorry, talking about election fraud than we are talking about wildfires. So I'm going to open with the wildfires for just a minute. More specifically, I want to talk a little bit because there's been so much controversy about this tweet.
Perhaps there's a metaphorical connection. Only the sage Larry could connect it,
though. So the Donald tweeted this yesterday. There's no reason for these massive, deadly, and costly forest fires in California except that forest management is so poor. Billions of dollars are given each year with so many lives lost, all because of gross mismanagement of the forests. Remedy now or no more Fed payments. Okay. The response to this from the Libbies has been that this is victim blaming and victim shaming. Okay, let me explain this to you.
I need to see a Mexican child with quasi-legitimate legal status in this country crying with an image of a burnt home in the background, superimposed with like a ghost image of Trump, an ethereal Trump laughing. That's what I need to see. Because that's what they're saying. Literally, that's what they're saying.
Yeah. So, victim shaming, victim blaming. Okay. Let me put this to you harshly. If you got raped And it is empirically arguable that you were in the wrong side of town, inebriated, alone, unarmed. Basically, you had done absolutely everything wrong. Every risk factor that you could have incorporated to increase the probability of you being raped. It is not your fault that you were raped. It is the rapist's fault that he's a monster, and he should be executed for that crime. That said, you do have an individual responsibility to mitigate your own risk. Teaching young girls who have not yet been raped that failing to take precautions and making bad choices will increase the probability of a bad outcome does not excuse rapists for committing crimes. This is the same thing. Saying that, hey, California, you're suffering bad consequences of bad decisions is not pointing the finger and laughing and saying, ha ha, ha, you deserve this. It's, hey, look, here's the evidence that the bad decisions we've been asking you to fix have negative consequences. One of the things that is just not discussed adequately is how this is part of this is a negative consequence of the climate change alarmism. Not climate change alarmism specifically, but the same sort of people. The extent and the breadth and severity of these wildfires is Smokey the Bear's fault. This is Smokey the Bear's fault. You got nothing, Mario?
Well, it's also the result of the ex-urban sprawl caused by the what remains of the liberal middle class of California, basically purchasing homes and new developments further and further away from the dystopian hellhole that has become their multicultural urban centers. And they have built deeper and deeper into the natural wildlands of California, where wildfires are prevalent. And then the wildfires come, and it really shouldn't be a surprise because you're building homes in areas where Native Americans 200 years ago rightly decided not a good place to live. This place fucking burns down.
And on top of that, the whole thing about Smokey the Bear being at fault, active suppression and prevention of wildfires has prevented the natural function of wildfires to clear away debris. And so what we have are these forests which are prone to fires as part of the natural cycle of their development, growth, self-destruction, and rebirth. They've got the whole phoenix thing going on where most of the forest burns down. Some of the plants won't even fruit and reproduce unless they've been burned. And over time, they go too long without a burn. And what happens is highly flammable, dry kindling accumulates, detritus and debris, which expands and exacerbates the severity of the burn, accumulates, isn't removed, isn't burned away, and that makes the fire more severe. Add to that bad water management problems. And I mean, California, in its perverse obsession with these climate alarmists, has just developed a severe perfect storm for these wildfires to be as bad as they are. So when the Donald says there's no reason for these massive deadly and costly fires in California, except that forest management is so poor. That I don't understand. Well, no, I do understand. I was going to say I don't understand how these liberals can turn that into victim shaming, some kind of nana. But no, I do. They're Neil Mark.
I distinctly remember how far this goes back. Like this goes back to like 2004. Like they were talking about this. There were lawsuits against Bush the Lesser's administration in 2004 because he was trying to make the California wildlife control or whatever, whoever's in charge of maintaining these wildlife preserves, to burn off all that dead material. You know what I mean? Control burns.
Yep.
And the state of California sued against the Bush administration to prevent it. Like this has been going on for over a decade. Like areas like this for basically, look, bottom line, California, there are more people living there than that parcel of land could naturally support. That should be pretty obvious. It's a goddamn desert. If left untended in 10 years, LA is a desert. It becomes Fallout New Vegas. All right. So there are already all kinds of unnatural constructs maintaining Southern California as a major population center of the United States. But they have fought against controls, basically to do controlled burns to maintain the brush areas in that state because of their environmental concerns. And then when you refuse the environment, nature will not negotiate. If you don't give it what it needs, it's going to take from you. And that's what happens again and again and again. And honestly, like, I feel bad for people who lost property. I hope they had insurance. But as for the state as a whole, I have no sympathy for you. I'm sorry.
Okay, and that's about as long as I can stand to not speak and take the camera away from you. I was a little amused by watching you pick your teeth.
I'm eating a pot roast with a knife in my fingers,
jealous.
like my ancestors.
I'm a little jealous there. Okay, so I think we beat up on the Californians and dealt with the tweet enough. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we wanted to talk about tonight. First, we got Ty Bro. Hey Julie, I'm glad to see you there. Where's Rod? We're missing people. But Ty Bro says CNN says Trump lost, but he didn't, right? I'm not entirely certain I know what you're talking about there, Ty Bro. If you'd like to elaborate on that question a little bit, I'd be happy to answer it. We're going to talk about some specific election problems tonight. I'm in Georgia, Mario's in Florida. Georgia and Florida both have a pretty severe problem with voter fraud right now. And we have a severe problem with voter fraud generally. There are large swaths of Georgia where it's just not reasonable to argue that voter fraud is not the absolute impetus for how blue these tiny little pockets of Democrat are amid an otherwise very, very red state. For example, Stacey Abrams, who just lost the governor's race in Georgia. Well, to put it in perspective, she's still holding on and refusing to concede. Yeah. The map looks like this, guys. You've got, now in fairness, so this is Metro Atlanta. Down here is Macon area. And you've got a dense population of reliable Democrat voters down there. Sort of. But let me put that in perspective for you. And this might be what you're asking about there, Ty bro. Let's look at the 2016 election map real quick. And just look at where's the good one? Yeah, this is a pretty good one. Okay, so this one shows you by county rather than by state. And as you can see, no state except for California, and it only sort of went all blue. A lot of states went all but all red. But you see the major population centers here. They try to tell us that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but she won the popular vote. She literally got more than 50% of her entire vote total from sanctuary cities. And we're supposed to run under the assumption that somehow that does not suggest massive voter fraud, that there were no criminal aliens voting in that election.
That map looks like a terminal cancer patient.
Yes. I had a similar thought earlier today. Maybe what we need is some good old chemotherapy. So I want to get you talking a bit about the situation in Broward County. I pulled up this article about the situation with Brenda Snipes. I love the headline. Update. Broward mixed rejected ballots with valid ones.
Yep, precisely. Now they're doing the recount. So basically, it's been ordered. The recount has been ordered, and this woman and her corrupt organization have already contaminated the vote of Broward County, which is the second most populous county in the state of Florida. Fraud has been committed. Nothing was done about it. Rick Scott, for I don't know what reason, probably because he's running for senator and he's currently the governor, decided that he probably did the limp wrist freaking Republican thing and decided that he was going to recuse himself from something that directly related to him. When in reality, there should have been an injunction against Broward County. Federal officials should have been brought in to basically monitor what was going on, because it's blatant fraud at this point. This woman, Brenda Snipes, should be in jail. She did this in 2016. She destroyed ballots. She intentionally miscounted ballots. She committed electoral fraud. But because she is in an elected position, her idiot constituary can basically elect her back into power and nothing can be freaking done about it. This woman is holding the vote of every honest citizen in the state of Florida hostage by her her sick machinations. This, and you know what? I watch Fox News and everyone basically is downplaying it, like, the recount's going to go ahead. Recounts going ahead. I'm like, no, there shouldn't even be a freaking recount. This bitch was supposed to post the full tally of votes 30 minutes after the polls were closed, and it's 6 fucking days later, and this bitch doesn't give us a full fucking list of votes? Are you shitting me? It is absolute election fraud being allowed to take place down here in Florida, and no one's doing a goddamn thing about it. I know Trump's not supposed to do anything about it because he's not supposed to interfere in state elections. Where's the outrage? Where is the outrage, Lowry?
Apparently, it's right here.
Yeah, it's right here in Florida. Hey, Florida, right here, people. Sorry, Florida, right here. My bad. I'm gonna calm down now. Okay, I'm just as you probably understand by now. I'm a little bit pissed.
Damn, son, we just lost a viewer in that rant. I'm assuming that's still Julie with us.
Normies.
So that's the situation in Broward County. That's the situation in Florida. Um, and God, what's going? And they keep. I don't even understand how this is a sentence that people don't just lose their minds when they hear it.
I,
They
I
keep
I lost my
finding
mind,
votes.
Lowry. I'm looking left and right here in Florida and waiting for everyone else to lose their mind. Like, where is the outrage? This is what I'm thinking day to day, but I'm out of control, man. Just keep going.
Yeah, you stepped over the F bombs for a minute there. That's all right. That's all right. We're good.
I took all the
Um,
red pills. I'm lost.
well, we have, and then here in Georgia, we have stuff going on with Stacey Abrams. Um, if we lost the vote, the voters must be racist. You know,
You know what? I'm not laughing. That's actually terrifying. It's literally terrifying because it means this is the type of woman who, if given power, would do everything she could to punish people that she perceives to not support her. This woman is a monstrous tyrant in the making. She doesn't deserve power, and she must she does not deserve any power. Any.
and yet she's been elected and reelected for a decade now. She's been floating around for a long time.
You know what, man?
Oh,
I'm not gonna be. So we had the issue with Gillum. You know, Gillum, who's now there's going to be a recount. You know, he's if he wins, he would be the first black governor of Georgia, or first black governor of Florida, right? And Stacey Abrams would be the first black governor of Georgia. Black America desperately needs some kind of intervention where they need to understand that just because someone's black doesn't mean you should vote for them. And I'm not going to be racist. I'm not being racist in any way. I'm not going to say
no, no,
anything racist. But
and I almost agree with
you
you.
really need you need to grow up. You got to grow up. Like you know, and I'm coming from an alt right background where yeah, there's that white nationalist, white that white nationalist, white identitarian background where I've dabbled in identitarian politics myself from a white perspective, but if you want me to give that up, if you want me to stop being interest group related as a white man, black people, please, you have to stop this nonsense. These are bad people, and you should be angry and you should be furious at the Democratic Party that they put these monsters with black faces forward to you for you to vote for them at your own peril. And you would be foolish enough to vote for them just because they look like you? Come on, man. You have to wake up. You have to wake up. This freaking nation depends on it, man. You've been here with us since the beginning. You've been here since the beginning. You are native born Americans. Wake up. Take some civic responsibility and turn your back on these racial politics that I don't know, man. Sorry. I'm just
Nail on the head. Nail on the head. Uh, when we're talking about when we're talking about people like this is a person. This is a raging racist right here. So
yep.
to put it in perspective, the headlines around these midterms from the left have all been about how okay, we got our first openly gay governor first Muslim senator, woman Muslim senator, first this, first that, and it's all, they're the first sexual person of this sexual orientation in the position. They're the first person of this color. They're the first person of this something, blah, blah, blah. Identity group, identity group, identity group. Nothing about their politics. First Korean woman elected to Congress, but she's a Republican. So there's not a headline anywhere for her.
No.
Right? What the hell? It's had some shenanigans happening with my monitors here. But anyway, first Korean elected, first Korean woman. No, not a mention of her. But this woman right here, I still got a picture up for you. And in fact, let me see if I can't find a better picture so we can make fun of her teeth for a minute. There she is.
Potential racism. Okay.
Okay. Just so you got a good clear look.
You've seen the meme. You've seen the meme. She lost by this much, and it shows the gap in her teeth.
Yeah. But really, I want you to look at her face. I want you to recognize this woman if you run into her. And if you see this woman in public, I want you to remember this. During this election, she filed a lawsuit against her opponent, alleging that he is a racist and that he's attempting to suppress the black vote because he's a racist. Okay, let's hear your evidence. And here's the argument she makes. That there is a large number of black voter registrations which are being held under the purview of the exact match registration law, and that the exact match registration law, this is not my argument, this is not my summation, this is not a paraphrase perhaps, but the argument she makes is literally this: that the exact match voter registration law, which requires your voter registration application to have your name spelled correctly, your correct date of birth and social security number, correct address, so on and so forth, that the information you fill out on the form be correct as required by law. She argues that that law, which is a federal law, which was put into place by Barack Obama, she argues in her lawsuit that Kemp should stop enforcing that law and following that law as the Secretary of State because the law is racist. And her evidence for this is that it disproportionately affects black people. I shit you not, because they have a higher probability of having exotic or uncommon names which are more difficult to spell. She alleges that Brian Kemp is racist because an Obama-era law disproportionately affects black people who, by her reasoning, her argument is that they're disproportionately affected literally because they're worse at filling out paperwork. They're worse at spelling their own names than white people are.
Yeah, they've done this. This is typical.
This is so. Hang on, Mario. Hang on. I know I've beat this horse a few times on a few different episodes, but
I'll distill that shit 100 proof for you in one sentence.
Okay.
Kemp is racist because I believe black people are too stupid to fill out paperwork.
That's right. That's exactly what she's saying. And it's the same thing with so many of their claims. And I don't understand how people are missing this. Like I've beat this to death on the voter ID law thing. But if you believe that voter ID law is racist, then what you're saying is not that the people who support voter ID laws believe that black people are bad at getting ID. If you think voter ID laws are racist, it's because you believe that black voters are bad at getting ID, and that the people who support voter ID law are trying to take advantage of that, which you are putting forward to be the fact that your claim is grounded on. If it were the case that you believed that I incorrectly believed that black people were worse at getting IDs, then having a voter ID law would easily prove me wrong if I'm wrong. As it turns out, I think black people are people and therefore perfectly capable of getting a state ID just like any other people. But of course, that is not what people like Stacey Abrams believe. She believes that black people are not competent to secure their own identification for the sake of conducting general business. Because if you can't get your hands on an ID that is adequate for voter registration and voting, how are you driving a car, getting a job, buying liquor, buying cigarettes, applying for welfare, paying rent, moving into a house to pay rent, leasing an apartment, getting Section 8 housing,
yeah, no kidding,
getting water hooked up, getting power hooked up, getting cable hooked? You can't do anything. You can't conduct any meaningful business in this country without an identification. And to argue otherwise is just flat disingenuous. So let's talk about the actual ballots, the numbers on the ballots. Here's the information from Tuesday on the provisional ballots that are in question. And she's
brief interruption.
Go ahead.
My dog is Mexican, and he's registered. He's real. He's on paper.
That's adorable. I don't think anybody can. Julie, let me know. Can y'all see the dog?
This is Cooper. This is Cooper, my Chihuahua.
Hi, Cooper.
He's a piece of shit, but I love him.
Yeah, son. So anyway, the provisional ballots in question that Stacey thinks she's going to overcome her 1.5% deficit with. You ready for these numbers, Mario? Right here, 3,722. Whoop, wrong button. $3,722 provisional ballots. 355 were accepted. 1,811 were duplicates.
But Lowry, I didn't have civics class in high school. I don't know what provisional ballot means.
A provisional ballot means that you showed up to the voting place and your name didn't pop up as registered, or you didn't have ID. In Georgia, you do present ID to vote. That is something we do here.
So you're saying I didn't take any measure prior to the election to ensure that my vote would count?
I'm also saying that if you're one of the people whose registration was stalled because you can't spell your name correctly or remember when you were born or know where you live, that you can still go vote. And they just have to check to make sure that your vote is a legitimate vote.
Lowry, democracy is too hard. It needs to be easier. I need a color-coded format so that I can be like Coco the chimp and know that by pushing the yellow button, I get a banana.
Yeah, so there are people who don't go to vote because it's raining, and you know what? I don't need their vote.
Who would?
If we can run in full battle rattle in the rain, then bitch, you can vote in the rain. So anyway, half of the ballots were almost half of the ballots that are in question here that Stacey Abrams is counting on. Almost half of them were just straight up duplicates. Nearly the other full half, because only 355. So 10% of the ballots were accepted. Of the remaining 90%, roughly half were just duplicates, and then the rest of them were rejected. And here, the rejection: three were non-citizens, 581 simply had not registered, and 972 were people from out of the county.
Yeah. But bus voting.
Okay.
Load them up.
Only three non-citizens. Only three non-citizens. I can chalk that up to they don't know. They just didn't know what they were doing. 972 from out of the county. That sounds like somebody bust them in.
No shit. So obviously, sorry, man. I don't mean to go on a tangent here, but just to go back to Florida for a second, you know that Mark Elias, the freaking Democrat lawyer who has basically worked his fingers into this recount process in Broward County. Like I said, Clinton lawyer, and he is actively fighting for non-citizen votes to count in Broward County elections. Non-citizens. I shit you not. The veil is off. The veil is off, people. Like, they just don't care anymore. They don't care anymore. Same thing in Arizona, Maricopa County. How many of those ballots do you think that are coming in at the last minute that are swaying an election? How many of those ballots do you think are coming from actual U.S. citizens or are coming from people with quasi-legal, indeterminate status? How many DACA votes went into this year's midterms?
Right. So,
anyway, real quick, shout out to Florida. I'm drinking Jai Alai. This is 7.5 IPA. Good stuff. Thank you, Cigar City Brewing. Support my boys' channel, the official beer of Brushfire Mind. If I may do so.
And if the Brushfire Mind has an official beer, then it also has an official bourbon.
Oh shit.
And that would be the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked.
Georgia whiskey.
Georgia
whiskey with Florida IPA. I can make that happen. I can work with that.
Oh, no, that'd be a Kentucky whiskey. But here's to us and those like us. Happy Veterans Day, guys.
Hell yeah, man.
I keep a bottle of bourbon on my desk next to my heartburn medication.
You know, man, we were deployed around the same time, man. It's a shame I wasn't downrange with you, Larry. I would have freaking. I don't know if I would have loved it. I don't know if I would have hated it, but it would have been something. I tell you that. It would have been an experience.
You'd have loved it, man. I mean, when we got Bin Laden, it was my 30th birthday. We had a bottle of scotch that somebody had smuggled in, and what used to be a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, and we were grilling lamb burgers on a pallet fire.
Could your team have used a crack metadata analyst? That was my specialty.
Yeah, no, my team could have.
That was Pepper, and she just diarrheaed all over the floor, like literally less than 30 seconds ago. That's calm. Whatever, I'm not wearing my glasses. I can't tell.
So anyway.
Sorry, one of the dogs shit all over the floor. All right, anyway, continue.
And Julie, you are welcome. it was our pleasure. I know I had a blast. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for the night, guys. Consider this kind of a news dump on the election fraud situation. I got a full plate this week. Hopefully, I can get a little bit more out to you. But we will see you next Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Veterans Day. Hug a vet. Show them your boobs. It's the American thing to do. And until next week, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But when you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life.
Real quick, Lowry, real quick. If people haven't seen it, they should check out, was it Matt Crenshaw, Republican representative from Texas, right? The guy with the eye patch who was insulted on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
He went on Saturday Night Live and basically straight up sat next to that little smug prick and got the apology from him and basically owned the camera in front of him. It was a beautiful thing.
Oh, man.
People, if you want to watch something on Veterans Day, watch that. It's perfect. Also, it's absolutely perfect.
I'm going to share this with you guys real quick. This is a little video that I cut. Grab it off the channel and share it on Facebook wherever you can, so that people can see who Stacey Abrams is.
And I have never in my life asked for anyone who is not legally eligible to vote to be able to cast a ballot. The blue wave is African American. Comprised of those who are documented and undocumented. Yes! And I have never in my life.
Comprised
of those who are documented and undocumented. Yes!
And I have never in my life
asked for anyone who is not legally eligible to vote to be able to cast a ballot.
The blue wave is, in part, people in this country who shouldn't be in this country, who basically were released with a promiso statement to appear before a federal court, who never appeared, and who can then basically register with lax election laws in their respective state. Look at Arizona. What do you think's going on right now there?
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah. And as you can see from the several newspaper clippings that I included at the end of that little video, this is not something new. Stacey Abrams has been actively under investigation for several different instances of suspected voter fraud for years. Some of those go back to 2010. So, I mean, this voter fraud is just what she does.
My God, people, look at Brenda Snipes' record as supervisor of elections in Broward County, Florida. Look into this woman. It's shocking. Why does she hold that position? Why is this allowed?
Why aren't these women in jail?
What kind of people would vote this person into an elected position? Why is she not in jail? Why is there not an injunction right now on Broward County? Why is there not an injunction on Palm Beach County in Florida? What is Rick Scott doing? What is going on? It's madness. They're stealing an election before your eyes, straight up stealing it, because they know that there's not a damn thing that you can do about it. It's sickening. And I'm a Christian man. I don't want to hate people. I don't want to feel hatred in my heart. But that's what they're pushing me towards. That's what they're pushing.
No, Mario.
They're teaching me to hate.
What they're pushing towards is the hope that they can that they can create the legitimate concern of voter fraud and unsecure elections, that they can actively undermine the election process, so that when they do again finally, as they will again finally eventually, have all three branches in their grasp for a few moments, it will be all they need to abolish elections. That is the objective. The objective is no more elections. That's why the voter fraud isn't just going on, but it's going on bald-faced and apparent. They're flaunting it precisely to build the paper trail that will aid in the agenda to eliminate elections so that they can retain power indefinitely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got.
I know you have your your standard, teach a man to fish, the way you cap off each episode.
If you teach a man fish, he can talk to dolphins.
I'd recommend maybe you start closing your episodes with Rudyard Kipling's "When the Saxon Learned to Hate," because that's what's going to happen in this country, and it's going to happen.
Actually, I'm leaning toward, and I have to look this quote up because I don't remember who said it. I want to say it was Mark Twain, but you will have your thinking done by cowards and your fighting done by fools.
Mark Twain was based.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. And you're welcome for all the fish.